Right, I like to say Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rakak Wadash, double ones to the apostles and elders of GMS. Salutations to you brothers out there that's doing this work in truth and sincerity. This is Lamentations chapter 4, verse 17. As for us, our eyes as yet fell for our vain help, and our watching we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near, our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. Our prosecutors are swifter than the eagle of the heaven. They pursued us upon the mountains, they laid wait for us in the wilderness. They the breath of our nostrils, the anointed of Yahweh was taken in their pits, of whom we said, under his shadow we should not live among the heathen. And this is a problem with our people, is that our people are asking the heathen for help. For an example, our people are asking they're asking the heathen to pass laws. So sentences, like for an example in jail, sentences for a specific crime or whatever crime it is will come down upon them the same as it would us. So for like you had a lot of so-called blacks get locked up for weed at one point, right? And they was locking Jake up for weed for like 5 to 10 years, man, at best, or even longer. Why, the Edomite was getting no more than maybe 30 days to a month, and probably not even that, probably a slap on the hand. And Jake wanted the sentence as they got come down upon um, them as well. So they wanted equality. They want equality with them and the enemy, or with them and the prosecutors, which is not going to happen. That's why the scriptures tell you in verse 17, as for us, our eyes as yet fell for our vain help, and watching we have watched for a nation that could not save us. What president have ever brought you so-called black Hispanics and Native Americans out of the situation that you're in, especially you so-called blacks, right? You in the ghettos, you killing each other, you robbing each other, you calling each other the N-word, you have no respect for each other. And ultimately that goes back to the curses. But again, what have the nations ever done to bring order within your communities? Nothing. No matter what president you put up, they're not going to be for you, right? So let's grab this in Psalms. What is that? Psalms this is Psalms 36 and 4. It says, for he flattereth himself in his own eyes, until his iniquity be found to be hateful. The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. And that's what he have done unto you so-called blacks every time they get up there, because these presidents that you call them, whenever they trying to be elected, they try to get as many votes as possible. That's even if they have to lie to you to get those votes, right? And what president have not lied to you? Now, a lot of so-called blacks will say President Trump did more for the black community than any president that were ever elected. But they all are two sides of the coin, man. They're all two sides of the same coin, right? It says, for he flattereth himself in his own eyes, until his iniquity be found to be hateful. The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. He have left off to be wise and to do good. So he have left off to be wise and to do good. So he's not after to do well, to do good for you so-called black Hispanics and Native Americans. His job is to keep you in the gutter, to keep you afflicted, to keep you oppressed. It doesn't matter if you grew up in a nice neighborhood and you wear a suit and tie, you got a college education with a nice 6-figure job. You still gonna be a nigga to them ultimately, right? Just because you got a little bit of bread doesn't mean that your people are doing better or your people could get better. Esau is gonna constantly keep Jake in the situation he in. There's a movie that just came out called Clone Tyrone, and every time they was whether if a Jake died and and was cloned, they put the same type of mentally ill as Jake in a neighborhood. Mentally ill Jake. But at the end of the day, again, you cannot depend on your enemies. This is why the scripture says, trust not your enemies, for as iron rusteth, so does his wickedness. You can't put no trust in the enemies that have you in these kind of situations. So for he deviceth, which the word device means to plan, mischief upon his bed. So they think upon these things. They plan on these things. These nations are entirely against you. They're not for you. They're not to be by your side, on your side. They are against you. He deviseth mischief upon his bed. He saideth, oh, there was a video that came out like about the conditioner, the shampoo, the soap, and everything like that, on how it actually breaks down and actually get rid of the like, how would you call it? There's like certain type of bacteria that's on our skin, but it actually protects us from like diseases and things, you know, from getting in our body. Well, these devils will have soap, conditioner, and shampoo that actually gets rid of that, right? That actually gets rid of that coating over your body, because that coating over our body, which is some type of bacteria, whatever it is, it actually helps us to defend off these attackers, like so to speak. But if you're constantly taking showers and you're putting these things upon your body, it's actually taking away that shield, that coating over your body. So now you become more prone to sickness. So these devils are always planning on how to destroy you. But also, like the scripture says, because of that, because of that, the devices that they use will also be against them as well. And matter of fact, let me grab that. That's actually, man, what is that? That's in Psalm 64. Psalm 64, where it says, let me see, Salakia, bear with me. But the scripture pretty much talks about how they shall fall in their own pit. I forget exactly where it's at. I thought it was 64, but it's not. Verse 8, it says their tongue shall... No, that's not it. I think it's, I want to say it's Deuteronomy 32. But it talks about how they shall slide in due time. And there's also a scripture that talks about that they shall fall in their own pit. I forget exactly where it's at. I believe it's in Psalm somewhere. But yeah, and that's what's gonna that's what's happening, like with the whole shampoo and things like that. But that also doesn't work. It's just not only working against Jake, but it also works against them, because guess what? Their people use it as well. So check it out. So Psalms 2 and 2. This is why when the whole Planned Parenthood came into to place, what happened with that? Well, a lot of these Edomite women went and started to get abortions. So these Edomites started to become the minority. So now they saying, well, now we need to start passing laws to do away with Planned Parenthood, so our women can start having more children instead of going to these doctors and getting abortions. Because with so-called white people, they look at the financial situation. So if having a child, if it brings a financial struggle, they won't have a baby. So here, Psalms 2 and 2. Um, the I'll start at 1. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. Right? So these nations, like if you go into Psalms, I believe that's 83, but it tells you how these nations are against us. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed. So they are against us. But I'm gonna go ahead and end it from there and say Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rakak Wadash, the ones, the apostles and elders of GMS. And salutations to you brothers out there that's doing this work in truth and sincerity. I like to say Shalom.